Hello and welcome to another edition of the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show, where this week we are super excited to have the head football coach at Payson High School, Mr. Bryan Burke, on the show. Coach has been at Payson for 8 years, the head coach, I believe the last 7, done a great job taking them to multiple playoff appearances, and on the verge, really, we've seen that program really grow of becoming a 3A power, certainly in a really, really challenging, difficult region, and I'm really excited to have Coach on for many reasons, because he's done a great job building the Payson program, but also because he's going to talk some defensive stuff. And I reach out to coaches in a lot of places, and for whatever reason, you'll get some defensive guys, but it does seem to be harder to get defensive guys than offensive guys. All the offensive guys will usually contact you back pretty quickly. Defensive guys, it can sometimes take a bit. So excited to learn from Coach and talk some defensive football. But before we get into that, I want to take a moment to remind everybody the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show is brought to you by School Funder. School Funder, the only online fundraising company in America that lets you keep all of the money your team raises. You would never give away 20% of the wins your team earns. To coaches all around the state and country willingly give away 20% of the proceeds their team earns in fundraising. Contact the good people at School Funder. Mr. John Thoralt is the guy that I work with, does a fantastic job, but contact them at schoolfundr.org. Let them know the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show sent you, as it will help the show. Again, the only goal of the show is to try to reach as many coaches as possible, help grow and share coaching knowledge, and that is the primary reason we are doing the show, and excited, like I said, to have Coach on. And while you're helping the show, please remember to like and subscribe. Really, our audience viewership has been doing really well. People seem to be enjoying the content. For whatever reason, it is absolutely difficult to get people to hit that subscribe button. Free, costs you absolutely nothing, and just helps us reach more coaches, as that algorithm will see, hey, they have more subscribers, and it'll spit it out to more people. So please do us a favor and hit that. I would certainly appreciate it. All right, so we're going to hop right into talking with Coach. And Coach, one of my favorite things about the show is hearing about everybody's football story. So if you don't mind, talk us through a little bit of your journey in this game. I'm going to go grab a Kleenex real quick while I'm listening.
Absolutely. I'm a Payson Longhorn through and through. I was a Payson High School alumni. Graduated in 2009. Lucky enough to be a part of a state championship team in 2008. From there, went on to play some community college football at Scottsdale Community College. I was actually teammates with one of your guests a couple weeks ago, Tyler French. We were one of the last few Scottsdale Artichokes before they JUCOs dropped their stuff in Arizona. But and then from there, I went on to South Dakota State. Got to play with some amazing coaches. Jimmy Rogers was our linebacker coach then. He just took over at Iowa State. Dan Jackson is the head coach at South Dakota State now. He was a part of that staff. Coach Digg, still somebody I keep in contact with to this day. He's taught me a lot. So Coach Brown is our D-line coach, D coordinator. So a lot of stuff I'm going to talk about today is kind of derived from a lot of their philosophy and their teachings. And from there, after South Dakota State my last playing season was fall 2013. I went and student taught at Campo Verde, and Coach Ragsdale was kind enough to let me coach D-line on that staff while I was student teaching. I coached varsity D-line that year. That would have been fall of 14. And then my first teaching job was at Liberty High School, and I came on the first year. Colin Thomas came in as a offensive coordinator. Mark Smith hired me at Liberty to coach tight ends and the freshman head coach, and really put me to work. I learned a lot about what it takes to be successful at the 6A level. Coach Smith he's forgotten more football than a lot of guys I know even know. So he taught me a tremendous amount about defensive principles. He had a different philosophy when it came to defensive stuff than I was familiar with. But he taught me a ton about the 3-3 stack and things and the different how to create chaos up front by creating different blitzes and stunts. And then obviously got to spend some time with Colin Thomas that year. Contact of mine since then. He's helped me with a lot of program building and things that we've done here in Payson over the years. After that year, I got a call from Jake Swower at the time, who was the head coach at Payson at the time. Said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody to coach line. You want to come back home? Got you teaching jobs." Me and the family came back to Payson, and we've been here ever since. I've been in Payson for I misquoted you earlier. I've been in Payson for 9 years, and then 2 years after I got here, I took over the program. I was very young, so the first couple years I was just learning on the fly. I felt like I was drinking from a fire hose. But like I alluded earlier, I don't know if everything up here that I'm going to show you today is the right way to do anything. Over the years I've learned plenty of wrong ways of doing it and kind of sifted through those and eliminated those over the years. I think we got a pretty good system here now in Payson. In the last couple of years we've been pretty tough. Playing in a really tough region and continue to get better every year. So, yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Hearing all that stuff, Coach, and you guys have done it, like I said, a really, really excellent job, because that region I think is toughest in 3A. There's tons of good football played out there. Friends with Eric Helmerson, who just resigned at Blue Ridge, and I know how good all the football is out that way. I didn't realize you played with. I actually coached Tyler French at Dobson too. He was all Arizona tight end, and I didn't realize you're at South Dakota State. And I think that he would have been a redshirt freshman. I think he was Brady Mengarelli, who ended up being a really, really good player for South Dakota State.
Yeah, I know Brady. He was a redshirt freshman my senior year. So
yeah, you said your last year was 13, and I know his last year with us was 12, so I think his redshirt year would have been 13. That's super cool, hearing all that information about your football journey, and I love that you're back home, and I really love that you're building a program long-term there at Payson. I did a podcast a couple weeks ago talking why that doesn't seem to happen as much anymore. You don't see guys kind of stick in one area, and I always have a lot of respect for guys that kind of try to build it, and certainly it's got to be even more meaningful for you trying to build it where you were a player. And I got to ask you, because I remember that state championship team from 2008 at Payson. There is a picture in the Arizona Republic, and I don't remember the young man on the team, a teammate of yours. He must have had the greatest beard in the history of high school students. I mean, he looked like the beard was like out to here, and you don't see many 18-year-olds with that. Do you remember what he played or who that?
Yeah, was? That's QB1. That was Rich Hellenhart. He's with a great beard in high school comes unfortunately bald head in his early 20s. But so all that hair just gravitated down. But that's that picture actually. I look like a baby in that picture because I'm the only one that doesn't have any facial hair, and everybody else, is growing a beard out. And I got picked on a lot about that back in the day, being a baby face. But I still can't grow a beard that well, but.
Well, that's okay. You can coach some defensive football. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, Coach, and I'm going to, like I said, I'll when I have a question or something, I'll chime in.
Absolutely. So, when you asked me to come on, I try to think of, some content and some topics to come and talk about a little bit. But, when it comes down to it, this is my baby. This is what I feel that we're really strong in. This is what I love talking about. And like I told you, you might have to cut me off here and there because I can get a little wordy when it comes to some of these things. I think it starts off with a defense philosophy. When you look at us as a defense, Payson is not we never have big kids. Very rarely will we ever walk on the field and you see, wow, Payson is bigger than. In fact, this is the first time I've ever watched a broadcast, and we were actually playing Round Valley, which Round Valley, they're the state champs this year, but they were pretty small and they were very fast, very athletic. And it was the first time I think in my 9 years at Payson, somebody watching our game says that Payson was the bigger team. So that's just something we never hear. But so we had a bigger team this year, and obviously they were a little bit undersized, but they played big. But so for us, we play a 4-man front. I like the 4-man front because of the looks it gives and kind of the angles, the blitzing angles that I get out of this. We've jumped into some odd stuff over the years, and I think high school football kind of comes down to playing poker. You play the cards that you're dealt. So some years will be probably we have a little bit more linebacker types. We don't have really true DNs. We'll have more D tackle types. So maybe we'll shift more to odd, or maybe we just have a bunch of really athletic, shifty guys. Maybe that's more of an odd year. But for me, my base, my bread and butter is everything is out of an even front. But I feel within our philosophy, I like to give multiple looks out of a 4-man front. I mean, really the only way to do that is just by shifting and stunting pretty often and try to just cause confusion up front. So that's kind of where we start with. If you watch, I'll pull up a couple clips here in a little bit. You watch our DNs. Both our DNs are 170 pounds. Our biggest D tackle, we had a big D tackle this year, and he was about 260. But other than that, our D linemen, I mean, we don't have too many guys over 200 pounds that play the D line in general. So we are definitely moving quite a bit, trying to get angles and how we do that. So that's what I want to start off with that. So my first stunt I want to talk about, which again I'm gonna show some clips because on paper, just the fall camp version, this doesn't look too crazy. A lot of schools run some kind of ton stunt or something like this, but this is when we call pinch. This is a read stunt for us. First thing we do is when it comes to our D-line stunt philosophy and our blitz philosophy, there's really two main characteristics that makes us, I think, unique or is fundamental to our core. And that's number one is when we stunt, we don't penetrate. We don't stunt for penetration. We stunt and read hips. So I think that's important to note before we stop. So anytime that I have, so in this look right here, this D tackle, he's stunting to the center. He's not stunting to the A gap necessarily. He's going to stunt to the center's hips, and he will, where he ends up will be determined by if he steps to or away. So that's number one. I think it's important that we talk about when you are stunting. Are you stunting to a gap? Because if you stunt to a gap, and a lot of the 3-3 guys and the odd front guys, when they stunt to the gap, they're taking a lateral step and they're going vertical in that step to penetrate. So a lot of it, I think that's really important to determine too. And then the second thing is you will almost never see us stunt the full line. If you see us stunt, we are always cut in half. So out of two of our 4 defenders, our D linemen, will be in a stunt. Maybe we'll have 3 of the guys, but we never stunt the full line. So if we're running, we'll run a pirate stunt. It's going to be the strong DN and the tackle stunting in a gap. Nose and DN, they just play base. And I think we get to be pretty multiple with the stunts that we have and our size of our stunt. If you look at those couple pages in our playbook, that can be pretty large. But a high school coach's favorite term when you're teaching an install is same as, right? So we teach you 2 or 3 concepts here. If you're the strong end, you're going to know 2 or 3 different stunts, and then everything else, every other stunt that you hear, that's the same as this one. That's the same as this one. So you're really only teaching a couple concepts. So those are two points I think that are really important when you're teaching these stunts and how you teach them. Is number one, are you penetrating or are you reading hips? And number 2, are you a full line stunt or a half line stunt team? So Um, yes, sir. So this is our read stunt. So this pinch or read, we've called it different things. Sometimes we got to have two or three different terms for something because people pick up on it. So this is one where we have a 2-eye here in our nose and our tackle's playing a 3, and they'll play pretty heavy shades, probably closer to a 2 on both of those guys. So both these linemen, they're actually reading the center. So it's a read stunt. It's not just a definitive you're going downhill. So both of them, they're reading the center. If the center is going to turn towards the nose in this look here, if he turns towards the nose, my tackle, he's taking a lateral step and he's reading that hip. So as soon as that hip goes away, he's going to crash and get two hands on the hip. And this is important when you talk about reading hips, is you take two hands on the hip and you run him flat. And so he's going to try to run him flat. And this essentially becomes a pick play in basketball. Right? So as this center turns to the nose, like you would get on a back block of power or inside zone, as he turns away, this nose or the tackle will wash him flat and gives this nose some room to come around the back door of this. So as the center turns to me, so if I'm this nose and the center's turning to me, I'm going to hesitate for a second and I'm going to step flat and I'm going to loop around him and cross his face to the backside. So I got a couple clips here to show you. Can you see this okay? Can you see this okay? Okay. So I'm on full screen for me. Is it playing? Okay. All right. So this is I just pulled a couple clips from one game here. As you can see, 78 and 55 here. They're at a pinch stunt. So this is actually a pass drop sense or look here. So you can see 78. The center turns away. All right, he's looking at this D tackle on the upfield side here. So 78, he sees that and he crashes. He gets two hands of the hip here, and now he's going to get hands on that center and he's working vertical. The 55, he sees that the center looks to him. So 55, you see he loops right behind him. So on this pass rush stunt here, you have just a natural. I mean, this is what everybody, that runs stunts. This looks like just a regular ton stunt, right? But they're actually reading these guys. So the actual penetrator here, which is 78, he runs up, gets vertical. Clean look at a sack here, which he does the number one cardinal sin, never leaves his feet and gives up a sack, but we end up getting the pick anyways. But you can see how they both read this center. 78 reads the center. Center's hip goes away. Two hands, he crashes and ricochets vertical up in the A gap. Center looks away and he loops behind him. Right? So that's a pass version or clip for it. Okay? Can you see this play, Coach? Okay. So now this is so I got two run clips on here. One a great look and one a not as great look, right? And I can go through. I have these on a playlist. I'll just going to go through all the different ones, good and bad, of these stunts. Because as you know, when you're looking at stuff in clinics, everybody shows you the highlights, and you're like, okay, well, what happens if this? So I think that's important to go through a little bit too. So you look in this pinch stunt here. Now on this look, this is from the same game. I think it was later, right? So in this look here, as you see, 55, the D tackle on the top of the screen, okay, he now, center goes away from him, so he becomes the ricochet, right? So you can see how he gets two hands on that center, and he works upfield, right? Center, that guard blocks him down. It kind of gives a tough angle there. Well, center goes 278 here. So watch what 78 does. This is a run play. 78 loops behind him and really is in position to make that play. He spills it and works it wider, and we get a 0-yard gain on the play, right? But you can see where had 78 had a little bit more of a motor here, he's making that tackle possibly in the backfield, right, or for a 1-yard gain, right? So this is Huh? Yeah. So when you read these guys, so center looks away, the D tackle, he gets hips away, he crashes, ricochets, work upfield, and then the 78 to our side, he loops around. Now he's a free runner. Okay, and I'll show you another good. That was the lesser of the two. All right, let's show a really good example. This is probably my favorite clip of this stunt. Again, same two, same game. All right, oh, almost encroachment there. All right, so now, okay, now 78 gets the block away. 78 gets his hands on the center, ricochets upfield. So watch how free 58 becomes, and he makes that tackle for a 2-yard gain. Right, which this would be probably our linebacker here, little sophomore, is taking a scenic route to hit power here. Also, this would probably be a 0-yard or loss of yardage play here. But you can see how 78 crashes. He crashes and ricochets up on that center. 55, he reads that. He loops around it, and he's making that tackle. Oh, beautiful. This is beautiful in gap scheme. So again, I've just put up a playlist of all the different stunts that we have here. Good, bad, and different, right? So sometimes when you're stunting, the old adage, sometimes you eat the bear, sometimes the bear eats you when it comes to stunting, right? So let's look at a couple good ones and bad ones here. I just, clips of 14. So this is one where if we do I think we get a puller on this one. Nope, this is zone. I'm trying to find one where we get an actual puller. Sometimes I might have mislabeled this. Although I think this is a pirate stunt. We'll get to that one here. That's a different stunt. Let's see here. Let me find you a different one. I can't find one specifically on pull-in, but to answer your question, if I know a power's coming or a gap scheme's coming, this is what I would love to call. If the offensive coordinator was going to be able to just relay a message over to me and say, "Hey, we're running power right now," this would be my go-to stunt. So you can see this is one here. Look at my D tackle starting to get tired here. You can tell he's in the stance here, but he got a stunt. So we have this pinch call here, and he's running it to the. So 55, he's actually getting a puller. You can see how his eyes take him away from the play here, but 78 gets his hands on the hip here, ricochets upfield. Got a little quarterback action here. This is Round Valley last year, so they had that Croker kid. He was a phenomenal runner with the ball. But yep, absolutely. So we'll talk about I'll talk about those guys too here in a second. But you can see 55. Had he stuck in the blitz here, his eyes go in the backfield and it takes him to that running back. With how 78 crashes the center here, 55 keeps going flat like he's supposed to. He's probably in position to make this play here, but he comes off, right? So, let's see if this is a better example here. Sometimes this is just looks like some kind of midline play here from Safford last year, but you get the stunt now, and now we're just stunting inside. He just beats him inside and makes that play in the first place. So. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. For us, if I'm looking at this year alone, we played River Valley, that was a single wing team. We played Blue Ridge, who was a double wing team. We played Thatcher, who has, some pro eye looks, formations, and they run some split back veer. So it's we play wing T. We will see a wing T team every year, regardless. But it's really have to have a true understanding of these different style of offenses, and the important thing is you got to teach the kids what they're doing too. When we play Blue Ridge and they're lining up in a true double wing, and our kids are like, yeah, they're running wing T. Like, no, it's a different offense. It's very important that you know that. So we got to kind of talk about the difference. We have an enrichment class here called Football Theory. During the football season, we watch a ton of film and we meet during that time. But here in January, that Football Theory actually put together a slideshow of all the different offenses since the Walter Camp days and when the forward pass was invented. So we can kind of see how offenses changed over the years. But also, if we walk into a team that runs, like I said, we played River Valley for the first time this year, and they run single wing. And our kids are like, oh, what is this? They run a Wildcat. I'm like, oh, it's kind of. But, it's you definitely have to know, you have to be familiar with just the history of football in general to have some of these knowledge, and then really just figuring out how to get numbers to where they're trying to attack, right? And that's where some of these crazy offenses get to. They're trying to get you to load up one side so they can come back into counter, and it makes it tough. So, when we get to see some teams that play spread, if they're really athletic, then I hate spread teams because we don't have the athletes to go, step for step with them. It definitely makes it fun and week to week out, week in and week out when you're scheduling, playing different types of teams. So, so that was. Do you have any other questions on pinch or just the read set in general? No, no worries. All right. So then our next one, again, these are just kind of some base stunts, right? And some of these aren't groundbreaking, but these are just some things that we do to set things up. And then I'll talk about how we start bringing linebackers, behind it. So this is, we have just a shift shoot, right? So we're going to line up in an over front. We're going to stem. So we just bring in, again, everything that we do, we try to keep it half line stunts, right? So I just want to stunt two guys for the most part. So I'm going to shift from an over front to an under front. So I'm going to shift, okay? And then on the cadence, quarterback starts, red 18, we shift. Okay, and that's got to be something that we work on and we synchronize and things and practice. And then we'll shoot back to that original gap. So we shift here, and then now his keys become this inside hip of the tackle. This nose, his keys become the inside hip of the center. Okay, so then what we're trying to do, we're trying to get number one, trying to get a stem so that the O-line is they're adjusting their calls, right? I like to think of it this way. And we had a new D coordinator this year, and this is something we had talked about a lot, like when we talk about philosophy and things. If I'm an offensive coordinator and a defense lines up in cover 3 and they don't come out of it and they just stay in the same look and they're static, how long does it take for a good offensive coordinator or a good quarterback to really pick up on that and make the adjustments? Okay, hey, we're playing cover 3, so let's hit these seams here, or let's hit the out, right? So it doesn't take you long to figure that out. Offensive line is no different. If you stay in an over front, if you're an even front team and you just have D tackles that are 280 and D ends that can sit there and hold the edge and you don't have to move, then that's great. That's awesome. we don't have those guys, so we have to move because we can't give up those angles. So we definitely don't want those linemen to sit there and get comfortable making adjustments, especially at halftime. So we'll stunt, we'll shift, and then we'll shoot back over to that original gap. Okay, and I'll just show just one clip here, and again, if we want to see a couple here, seem to pull a lot of Round Valley clips from last year, but I do have some other games on here that we can show. So you can see the shift. They start on the cadence, then he shoots back, right? 78 doesn't get all the way across the face like he should, but either way, we shift back, causes confusion, gives up lots of free linebackers just moving in space here, right? That's what we want, all right? So when we come back with a shift, with the shift shoot, then eventually we'll just line up in a shift. Seems easy, but if they're getting used to every time, and we get, we run that shift shoot quite a bit. Every time that that tackle shifts to an A gap to a 2I, that guard isn't respecting the stunt, or he's not respecting that gap anymore. He might take a wider step to cut him off on that stunt, and then that way we'll just shoot up in the A gaps, right? So that's a couple looks there. So now we'll run this shift shoot, and then we'll plug a linebacker. Before I start on blitzing, I believe that my philosophy when it comes to blitzing is we have to, when you're sending a blitz, right, and a lot of times somebody's like, oh, just send a sandbacker off the edge, and you walk a guy up, and everybody kind of just stunts or maybe shifts down, and then you just go. If that's the case, I would rather just line up in a true bear front, walk up my sandbacker, coach him exactly how to play that tackle, right? If I'm just going to walk up and show a blitz, right? So if I'm blitzing, I like to have a person I'm trying to attack in mind here, right? So if you're looking at this drawing here, all right, and again, this is probably a simple concept, but it's a concept of how we choose to decide to attack people. So I have this shift shoot, right? So this guard, look at the conflict I'm putting this guard in. As his nose, he lines up in a 2I, he shifts out to a 3, right? So now he's thinking, okay, I got to protect this B gap. He's lined up in the B gap, but now he might step down in the gap. So now this guard, he's in conflict, right? As soon as this nose, he takes a flat step, he steps down with him, right? Well, I have an edge defender, or I have a C gap defender who's playing a C gap, right? So now as I do that, I'm putting this guard, he has to step down. Well, if they knew this blitz was coming, right, an O-lineman, some kind of adjustment if they're playing zone or something like that, or even pass protection, if they knew this is coming, center's going to come out and help on the nose, right? The guard's going to step out on the wheel, and everybody's protected. But because we're not showing this, and I'm going to really pick on this guard here, he shifts out, he stunts back in, and it's going to leave a really wide open lane for my wheel backer to shoot in here, right? So again, what's our philosophy when we are blitzing? We want to create a pick play and attack a specific lineman when we're doing this. If not, right, if I was just going to walk this wheel linebacker up on the edge or walk him up in the B gap, why not just be in a bear front, right? Because that way I can at least teach these guys how to do these things. So that's that's kind of my philosophy when we do this. We want to be able to attack a certain person. And even to that extent, there's times when we do in our scouting report, hey, right tackle is a dude, right? Right tackle is a dude. So we have to have some stuff prepared that they're probably going to run to that side. Left guard, the teams we play, you just talked about all the different offenses we have. Well, those teams play all these different styles of offenses because typically they don't have massive offensive linemen. And if they do have big, they typically don't have 5 dudes, right? So usually there's going to be a weaker lineman out of those. Sometimes when we get a pass rush or part of our game plan and we get a long pass rush type of situation, if we're sending blitzes, I might say, hey, the left guard is their weakest link. We're going to pick on him with our third down blitz package, right? So we might have certain blitzes that week just to attack that guy. And there's been times where, we'll call the strength to a certain player. Like we'll call to, if number 71, he's on the right tackle, and if his name's, Jimmy Johnson, then we might call, the strength Jimmy over Banjo. So that we call the strength to that number 71 or whatever. That way we can get the matchup we're looking for, right? So that's something I think is important, that all these blitzes are designed to kind of put 1 to 2 guys in conflict, right? Because if I'm just trying to get an extra guy in the blocks, then I'm just going to walk up and play Spartan, right? Or I'm sorry, a bear front or an under front and walk up a sandbacker, right? So does that make sense? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So definitely walking up is so we'll naturally linebackers will naturally creep, right? And I think that's the difference between walking up and creeping. Like you'll see our backer here, he starts to creep up here. He's a little earlier than I like, but there's kind of that fine line. You come from depth, you're there slower, right? You walk up, you're telling the offense what you're doing, but also you're getting there faster. So there's kind of that fine line we got to ride a little bit. Sometimes they'll get you on a cadence or something, but you can see on this one we have the shift shoot. Let's go. All right, so we have the shift shoot called. Actually, on this one, this isn't a shoot, so that D line they shift over, right? And now that guard that we just talked about. Now look at the conflict he has. He's got to pick up. So he sees a linebacker come up, right? Because we have this shift inside, we run this shift shoot so often. This center, he has to respect an inside stunt from 78 here, right? That center has to, because we run this shift shoot so often where he shifts out, he comes back and ricochets off the center. Okay? So a lot of times he has to respect that. Well, if you look at the conflict, we just put this guard in. He has one-on-one. He's got 2 guys to defend because he doesn't have center help here. Maybe he should have center help, but if he doesn't have center help, then we have a one-on-one on the backside with 78 as well. But you can see center or guard, he takes a linebacker. D tackle that really has a free run at it. They get a quick throw off, so nobody makes a play. But again, when you're talking blitzing and stunning, a one-step throw, that's as good as a sack or a tackle for loss in our sense, especially when you have really good aggressive corners, right? Sometimes we want the throw, right? Sometimes if that quarterback's really nervous back there, he's only going to take one step and throw it. Sometimes that's what we want because if it's a completion, it's a 2-yard completion. Linebacker safeties have a chance to rally. Maybe it's a bad throw. He's under duress. Maybe it's an interception. But a lot of times we're looking to bait that quick throw, right? So that's as much of a win as anything else. So right here, that was a one step and throw here because he felt pressure. That was almost a pick. So again, you can kind of see the how we're putting this left guard in particular in a tough position here. That's all we're looking to do. So that is absolutely. So again, when I talk about our front, our defense, we try to. I like it when people say, "Are you an even front team or not front team?" Usually, you hear people they say, "I like to be odd because we want to be multiple. We want to be able to stunt and shift guys." Well, I like to do that too, but we do it from an even front just because I like those angles a little bit better. Right. So here's another example of ways that we bring a linebacker. You almost never see us just walk up a linebacker and blitz. So we try to come again. You'll see him start to creep a little bit, and then we get that shift shoot behind it. We don't get 78 doesn't come down very well, or actually they're both. We might have busted this play. It looks like they were supposed to shoot back in, but so we had 2 guys in a B gap here, but. But either way, we're shifting, we're moving, we're causing some chaos up front, and our D tackles, we're causing that play to have to spill, if anything. So again, that's just another example of how we shift shoot, and then we'll send a backer. So we can send. We have blitzes for all of our linebackers in different angles, and sometimes we send them from the edge, like I showed you a second ago. Sometimes we send them inside. Here's another example here. Let's see where we're coming from. Yeah. So like I said, the every high school coach's favorite term is same as, right? So we teach. So just the last couple, I showed a shoot stunt, I showed a pinch stunt, and I showed a shift shoot, and from there, those three affect the D tackles. I can run. We run anywhere from 7 to 8 blitzes, right? Linebackers, it's easy. You hear stab, that's probably talking to the Sam backer, right? And then when I hear stab, it's telling my D tackles that, hey, you're running a shoot stunt. Same as, right? So then that's how we kind of use our terminology and our wordplay. So that's kind of when you teach the couple stunts there, and you're teaching the concept and philosophy, then you get to add everything else. So when you look at it from when you're watching our film, it looks like, man, they're sending guys from all over the place. Well, we're not sending that many blitzes. We really don't have that many stuff in. We're just doing it from a couple different looks there. But our D tackles, our D linemen, they don't have to learn 25 other things. All right, so all right, so that was our interior stuff, our interior stunts. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about a long stick. This is okay. So we have our edge stunts. So most people are familiar with pirate stunts, which you take your Sam. Can I draw on this? No, I can't draw. I'm still working with huddle installs here, so I'm trying to. I'm actually diving into this a little bit, but so a pirate stunt would be where I take my D tackle or my D end and I stun him to B gap, and my D tackle he stunts to the A gap, right? And it's great for gap scheme. You're going to try to bounce, power trap, come underneath the kick out and things. So this is a version of a pirate stunt here. You're essentially becoming the same stat. That you're going to the same gaps. Instead of, say, on a pirate, I'm going to stunt to my end would stunt to the B gap, nose would stunt to A gap, or your tackle would. We're responsible for the same gaps, but instead I'm going to have my nose knife up and penetrate into the B gap, and I'm going to bring my D end down to a long stick here. So you can imagine if we're pulling backside here, this guy, this guard, if he pulls, to the field side here, my end, he's just going to chase that puller, and he makes that play in the backfield. Yes, sir. So, yes, sir. Yes. Yep. And it's not necessarily this. This is a quick hitting stunt. So this isn't necessarily like a penetrator and looper. Our DN, he's just long sticking flat, but his angle is going to allow the nose to go first. So here's a clip here, okay, that we have called to the boundary side here. So this is where we have some fun too. We start shifting and shooting a lot. I will shift and call any one of our stunts. So I might call like a shift. This would be we call this a bat. We'll call this shift bat. So we'll shift into this and then we'll bat. So again, D tackles or interior linemen, they see this shift. They're expecting a shoot back or something, maybe inside pressure. Now we get this shift, and I'm going to bring my D in and a long stick here, which it can be a problem. He comes flat. All right, so they actually run outside. Again, this isn't probably the look that you want to see, but you can see how when everything's spilled underneath there, this tackle, he goes and chases our DN actually, some kind of draw play or inside zone play, and then our linebackers free and untouched, teeing off. Right? ultimately, anything we do up front, as long as these guys back here are free, that's all you can ask for as a D coordinator. Now, doesn't come from a D lineman who used to hate coaches that said that. But just force a double team, let the linebackers run around free. But now being on the other side, then that's as good as gold, right? Here's another example. So we're running this long stick from the field side here, and on a pass rush, you can see how the tackle, he works vertical. He ends up splitting a double team here. He ends up splitting his double team here, and you see my D tackle, my DN, he's coming vertical upfield. A lot of times when we're teaching these stunts, we got to teach our DNs that say, hey, when you see a wide open space, a lot of times they want to throttle down because they think they did something wrong, they overran it or something like that. But a lot of times when they knife down that run from the backside, it'll look like that. Again, let me look up. Here's a good look on a this is Thatcher this year. So we call this is a 1st and 10. So this is a pretty safe rundown stunt. Obviously, we're trying to get this versus gap scheme, but it also for drop back passes is good. Obviously, we like it when we're not on sprint out teams. You think there's going to be some sprint out there, then you probably don't want to run that versus sprint out team in a possible down situation or possible pass down situation. So in this case, D tackle goes vertical. Again, we have kind of a natural. We don't have a true like penetrator and looper like you would on a pass rush stunt. Our DN here, he just takes a flat step. He sees grass and goes vertical. Tackle becomes the C gap defender, and then we get a sack there. The backside D tackle. He gets him to hold on to the ball, right? Tight view, you probably want to see that. You can see where that guy, he comes free. Yep. You see he comes free. He sees, a lot of times when we're teaching these guys, you got to say, hey, when you see a wide open lane, sometimes they don't even know what to do. It's like a deer in a headlight. But we have to tell them to get vertical and get upfield. So if I was being technical here, because we do read hips, I usually like to tell this guy to get hands on the hip here and then vertical or ricochet vertical. But obviously he sees grass, he goes vertical upfield. And then our D tackle works up from the far side. Let's see. Let's see if I can find one on a run play here. These are all pass plays. Nobody runs the ball anymore. All right, let's see what this one looks like. All right, here's a great one. So a little more shuffle step than I like out of this D tackle or out of this DN. So you can see we're running this here. Okay, the big 78, he comes vertical here. He creates that pressure. So now we're running away, right? So he just keeps going flat till he sees space. Okay, so you can see how he's coming free. This is a backside DN. All right, so play goes away. This is beautiful. Play goes away, gives him a pursuit chance here. Now, as a coach, this is all you can ask for, right? You get this one-on-one opportunity, and so he misses that tackle. Then we're not ideal what we want either. But you can see the look we're trying to get to, and the look we get. He goes flat here. He chases this thing down. He should be staying on this inside track here and making this for a tackle and loss. And other than that, instead of letting an athlete break his tackle. But you can see the look he creates. Yeah. So this is something we definitely, we got to rep the crap out of this and run in practice, be really confident at it, right? So this is the same play. Yep, it's the same play. Oh, that hurt me. But you can see how he comes flat here. He's able to see. That's a great view at it. Him just coming right down the line because you can see his hands on the yard line here, right? So he just runs flat down this line, long sticks. great opportunity to make that for in the backfield, right? And then miss the tackle. Sir, so you can definitely see where that is called. Let's see what this one. This is a rush. Is this a good one? Again, I'm just showing you. I'm showing you clips from the season, so these might be great clips or bad clips, and you can kind of see how, like I said earlier, sometimes you eat the bear, sometimes the bear eats you. So, we just get a quarterback sweep action from Thatcher here to it. Again, we're spilling everything. Ideally, this isn't a terrible look. We get some quarterback ISO here. It's not a terrible look because we're making everything. We're working it to the sideline. Linebacker's got to be able to get free and make that. Let me just watch those ones. But I guess I don't have any good gap scheme ones against that. So, but yeah, so you can see kind of how that kind of philosophy, how that works in there. So then once we go bat, then it opens up to all of our edge pressures, right? So now we can add a will linebacker off the edge, and we're running our bat stunt behind it. Or you can run a sandbacker off the edge, and we can run a stick stunt on the strong side. It really opens up to what we're able to do here. So this is an example of a blade here. So we're going to bring our weak linebacker off the edge. He's young. This is from last year, so he's young here. So he probably got his butt chewed from walking up and showing this because like I said, I don't particularly like that. But you can see how the long stick here, he's working flat and he gets vertical up in that A gap. Gets that quick throw out. Again, that's what we're looking for. That's at that point it's someone else's job, right? If we get that ball out in a half a second. So again, this is a stick stunt. I think this is the one we just showed. Yep, that's a play we just showed. So we just showed really two D tackle stunts. We showed two edge stunts with the front side long stick and the weak side long stick, and off of that we can run 6 or 7 different blitzes there off of different angles. So that's definitely what we're trying to do. We're trying to walk up and show as many looks as we can off of as few of stunts for our D tackles or our D line to know and understand, right? So this is one I wanted to show real quick. I got to look up a clip here. Where's the T? Am I missing it? Oh, I'm looking at twist. So I just showed the Spartan. To kind of show if I was going to walk up a linebacker, then I would just walk up into an under front, right, and just play one of these, which we will run our under front or a bear front, whatever, and we'll run a lot of these stunts out of these different looks too. I'm just showing everything just out of a base over front. But again, we might run, we call, again, this is just an under front with a Sam walked up. We call it Spartan, but we can run our shift shoot out of this look. We can run a bat out of this look. We can run a stick out of this look. We can do a lot of different looks outside of this as well. But we'll almost every time that we line up into this look, we'll shift into that Spartan look. We'll shift into an odd front or to an odd front or a bear front. So we definitely use that same philosophy in different stunts as well. Let's see here. Try to find. I think you'll like this one. This twist is one that we have fun with. This is something that probably a little bit newer. I started getting to a little bit more in the last year or so, like 2 years ago. But and twist, okay. And again, every D, when we talk about D-line stunts and things, you're probably thinking of like a tear or an exit where the D end, he'll kind of loop up inside here, and then this D tackle the D end will penetrate through that guard's hip, and the D tackle will loop around and get contained. Well, this is a twist stunt Well, we'll run this on a rundown, and this is actually one of my favorite stunts versus a gap scheme team. Obviously we have under center and trap. This is probably not a go-to play for us, but if they're running a lot of off center, they're running some buck sweep, or as their off tackle, they're running some buck sweep, they're running some power, things like that. This is a great stunt for that. So our D tackle, he's going to pirate stunt in, so he's going to take a flat step, read this inside hip of the guard. So when he reads this guard, he has 3 looks, right? He's going to get basically hip away. This guard's going to go downhill to somebody else. He's going to get hips to him, so he's going to step to him and adjust, or he's going to get a hi-hat. So he goes hips away, he gets 2 hands flat, washes him wide, and he takes this real flat angle. Again, if this is like if this guard is coming to linebacker, he's going to take 2 hands on the hip, ricochet, working wide and flat, and then ricochet upfield. If he steps to him, he gets hands on him, punches right away, strikes into that B gap, and he shows color into the B gap. So that's how that tackle reads these. And then this D tackle, he's almost going to treat this like our DNs do in those long sticks, and he just takes a flat step, and then again, naturally, he will loop around the tackle, the end. Since that end is pirating inside, if this tackle just steps flat and wide, and then he's just going to loop around. So again, you don't necessarily have the penetrator and looper like you do in a lot of these stunts. You just have him take flat, long stick type footwork, and then he's naturally going to work around that D end. So we can do one of either way. Sometimes we'll run. If I call it one way, it'll be to the strong side. If I do one hand, it's to the strong side. If I do 2 hands, it's both sides. Typically, and this is one of the few I told you earlier. We do half line stunts. This is a half line stunt. We're just doing the same stunt on both sides. So again, sometimes we want to do it just to the strong side, but we can do it to both sides on this particular one. So you can see, again, we're getting outside, kind of a counter look here. D tackle, he stunts in. They both D ends come underneath there. So he gives my weak side D end, he's got a chance to actually probably knife behind and loop this thing, right? My D end at the bottom here, he kind of gets caught in a mess of bodies, but you can see my D tackle, he's out wide and spilling everything. But more importantly, what do we just cause with this entire line? They're running into each other. Left tackle's blocking the right guard here, right? And linebackers free to work, right? There's another look here. Again, you got this looks like almost like a double stick, that because we're flipped here, both our DNs. That might have been a bust. There's a better one. And this is a great one. This is one of the few that I like on pass downs and on rush downs, because now I'm getting my DN to work underneath there. Watch, this ends up being a sprint out. My big D tackle here, almost has a chance there on the sideline on a sprint out, right? How often does a 3 tackle make a sack on the sideline for a sprint out play, right? So you give him a wide angle there. He gets outside the running back like he should. So this is one of my few stunts that I like on run and pass. It's another good one here. So this D tackle or D end to the bottom here, he knifes underneath. We have a little quarterback ISO, and he's knifing that down from the weak side. If you watch my D tackle on the top here, he's the one that makes that play it's our top side D tackle, strong side D tackle, and our weak side end pair up on this play on this tackle in the backfield here. You can see our D end here. He's stunting underneath. He should be working a little vertical there, but D tackle loops around. He's making that tackle in the backfield. So you can see the kind of disruption. Yeah, he's an all-state, 2-year all-state DN for us. He's one of the best to do it. He actually I played at Payson obviously, and a couple years ago I set the sack record here at Payson, and that number 12 he broke my sack record this year. So it was it was pretty cool. But he's with the amount of stunting movement, that's another point to it. This guy right here, with the amount of different looks and different things that we're doing, we're freeing him up to do. I think last year he had 7.5 sacks. This year he had 6.5. He's had 25 sacks in his career. This guy had 10.5 sacks this year. This D tackle right here this one had 8 sacks last year. This year he played through some injuries, so he had less. But we had 32. We had over 30 sacks the last 3 years in a row with this group, and we're just causing. Again, we're seeing a lot of run-heavy teams, and we're still be able to pin our ears back and get those different looks because our D linemen, pass protection-wise, we're not giving a line a consistent look for them to make adjustments to. We're setting. I want their left guard to be stressed out about the D end away from them just as much as he is the nose guards that lined up right over the top. So I think that kind of they all play off each other, right? All these run stunts and chaos, we do that. And then when we get into our pass rush package, our third down package and things, we're also getting some tough looks there. So is there did you want to get into practices at all, or what else? I think that depends on the obviously the type of scheme you're seeing. I think if you're going to be like if you're seeing a big zone team, shifting shoots, or just your interior shoots are probably better for me, just because number one, I'm causing a little chaos up there. Number two, I'm cutting off angles for those guards to get up to backers, right? So that's a big thing for me too. If I'm running power trap gap scheme type guys, if they're going to run some more off tackle gap scheme, then I'm gonna play some pirate, some stick, some of those type of edge stunts, because either way they can. If you run into it, it's a great run fit. It spills everything out for the linebackers, or you call it the wrong way and they run away from it. Then you have that DN chasing a backside too, which is also a great look. One of my favorite things to do, and sometimes depending on the opponent and what they're trying to do, obviously everybody has their field boundary tendencies. If there's a team that runs a lot of gap scheme, and if they're going to be on a hash, and they want to, if they're going to run gap scheme play to the field, I almost never call a stunt from the field. That's a big. I'll run either maybe a blitz off the weak side, or I'll run that bat stunt from the weak side, and I just try to get my DN that way. On the front side, everybody's feeling our run fit is really solid on the strong side, on the field side. You're not taking linebackers and moving them around and things, but on the back side, you have a DN who basically becomes a free runner, and where you're adding an extra defender to chase that down from the weak side. So that is actually one of my one of my favorite things that a lot of people think, oh, well, you need to, if you're going to call stunts, you got to call it and plug up the strong side. Well, sometimes calling it from the backside and giving those backside defenders a chance to chase that thing down from the weak side while you're still protecting any kind of weak side run. I think that's as good as gold too, in my opinion. So every once in a while you'll be able to see those things. Hey, they're on a hash. They're going to run. They're in trips. They're going to pull a guard and do a G kick to the field side pretty often. That might be an automatic call. I might be saying, all right, every time they're in trips on a hash, we're going to call, field bat, and then they'll call the strength of the field and then run that on the weak side. So that's one of my favorite ways to kind of cheat a defender in there. Yep. Absolutely. Thank you for having me.